everybody. We're going to get started soon. I just want to make sure, can people hear this? So, just chime in if you can't hear this. We want to know before we get started. But so I'm Amy Huckensnoss. I'm the Training and Events Coordinator at Vermont Family Network, and so thank you everyone for coming to today's webinar. This is a monthly thing that we do. It's a lunchtime webinar series, and today the topic will be moving up, transition to kindergarten for children with special needs. So we're very excited to have Kate Rogers with us. She is the Essential Early Education Consultant from the Vermont Department of Education. Before I hand it over to her, I'd just like to go over a few quick logistics. So it looks like everybody is muted, so thank you. And the reason we have people muted is to kind of eliminate the background noise from the webinars. So, but we absolutely encourage questions, so please feel free to ask. Whenever you have a question, you can type it into the chat box, and Kate will do her best to answer all of your questions, but try and be patient if there's a lot of questions at once. And last but not least, at the end of this webinar, there's a really short survey, and if you could just give us some feedback, it can help us with our future webinars, let us know how we're doing, and kind of who we are reaching with our webinars. We'd really appreciate it. And if you miss any part of this, or if you want to review the information, it will all be on our website, so you can go back to that at any time. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Kate.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kate, as Amy stated. I work with the Department of Education as the Essential Early Education Consultant. That's the early childhood special education services that serve children 3, 4, and 5 years of age within the school districts. So today's webinar is on moving on up, transitioning to kindergarten for children who are receiving essential early education services. You have to bear with me, so we'll advance the slides. Maybe. No. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Around 2001, there was a transition task force group just specific to early childhood. And the documents that you see pulling up on your screen are our transition booklets that are available for parents and early childhood education providers. You'll see Moving On, which is the transition booklet that is specific to children who are in Part C, Children's Integrated Services Early Intervention, for their transition to essential early education or other services. You'll also see the Off to Kindergarten booklet, and that's a general booklet about best practices for kindergartners. And Off to Kindergarten is a nice culmination of effective tools that you can utilize in order to support your child so they're ready for kindergarten. We're really going to focus on moving on up today, and that's, of course, as I stated before, the transition from EEE, Essential Early Education, to kindergarten. You can locate these booklets online. They're free to download. If you can print them off in color, that would be nice, but with budgets how they are now, black and white, is fine. We do, at the Department of Education, order the off to kindergarten booklets on a yearly basis, and school districts do purchase those, and I believe you can purchase them for $1. And that's, offsets our publication costs. The Moving On booklet will be revised. As you can see, the title of that booklet still states that the Part C program is listed as Family Infant Toddler Project, as we know it currently to be the Children's Integrated Services Early Intervention Part C program. So we need to revise each of these booklets for children with special needs, the Moving On and the Moving On Up. Okay, as we all know and move through our day, transitions occur all the time. As you can see, our dear friend Snoopy here, he's telling his friends he has to move to another house. Oh my gosh. I wonder what anxiety Snoopy feels. I wonder how folks are supporting his transition. The fact that he's even writing a letter tells us that there is a little bit of concern about what that other house might be like, who's in it, where it is, and all those fears. So we have to support Snoopy in really coming to terms with his transition that will be in the near future, and helping him to have a smooth and effective transition to where it might be. So we have some guiding concepts on transition, and the first one, and the one that we need to think about and really keep in the forefront of our mind, is that transition is that ongoing process rather than it's a single event. It's not a single event. And that's where folks get mixed up a little bit. Just because we say transition, it does sound like a single event, but it can take a long time to transition and to support a child and family, to move from one set of services to another set of services, to meet new people, to develop that relationship, to be placed in an environment that, like Snoopy, may be new, to have time to feel comfortable and safe within those environments and the new people that we meet. So if we can remember that. Planning should begin early. So for a Triple E student who is with special needs, who has pretty intense special needs, mobility issues, maybe cognitive difficulties, speech and language issues, you may want to begin planning the transition from, say, there might be in a preschool placement and receiving their Triple E services within that placement. You may want to begin those transition discussions around December and January. If a child has severe, intense needs, you may want to start those discussions sooner than that. One of the reasons for that is school districts begin to work on their budgets, and if they know of a child with some severe challenges that will be entering their program, and they need to make sure that their budget will cover accommodations for that child, may need a one-on-one support, or equipment, or looking at the environment and really revamping it to meet that child's needs, you may want to begin those discussions as soon as you can. So, and the families are always involved. So we look at the family values, the cultures, the concerns, and the dreams that the families have in order to ensure that there is a smooth transition from preschool Triple E services into the elementary school kindergarten placements. And of course, families are encouraged to be active on the team. So we all know communication between home and school is critical. We need to know and understand when We see our little friend here, Charlie, smiling, getting on the bus. And we also see little Diana next to him, you know, a little bit upset, crying on her dad's shoulder, maybe not wanting to separate so soon. So keeping in the loop is important. So teachers sharing with parents, parents sharing with teachers. Being collaborative, again, is the spirit of the transition process. We all have to be on the same page in order to gather the information that's necessary to inform our decisions that we make for children moving into kindergarten. So the partnership, again, between the parents, the teachers, the special educators, the related service providers, the principal in the school, possibly the nurse, the bus driver, and maybe the cafeteria staff, gym teachers, music teachers, all the folks who will see our children day in and day out. We need to connect with them and be collaborative in our efforts. You can have your core team, but don't forget those folks on the extended team to making sure that their understanding of what services are being provided for children that are going to be meeting their needs, so we all can support the children on a daily basis. Remember, if you have any questions or if you'd like to stop me at any time, you can type in the chat window. And Amy's here to kind of relay that to me. So we have two screens up and we're watching the chat window. So at any time, please feel free. So another guiding practice, of course, is schools need to be ready for children, as opposed to children being ready for school. And I think that pretty much states it all. If we're not ready to support a child coming into kindergarten, the first day of school, and that child then might not be successful on that first day. And if he's not successful, do you think he'll want to come back the following day? Most likely not. We want children to be excited and motivated and encouraged to be in school, and that's why schools have to be ready for children, no matter where they are developmentally. Their chronological age may be different from the developmental age, and we have to address all their educational needs to the best that we can. Make them feel comfortable so they are ready to engage and participate in the life of the class. So moving to the new setting. Again, remember Snoopy sitting on his house, typing that letter of concern. So moving to a new setting is exciting, but we have to support the children and the families to think it's exciting. So one is children will get to be with their peers in kindergarten. How exciting is that? We look at social skills, emotional skills, coping and adaptive skills in kindergarten to support that before we can ever ask a child to perform on any type of academic or cognitive function. So we want them to, again, feel safe and comfortable in a setting with their peers in order to participate fully. We're going to look at a parent's perspective. So, oh, actually, I forgot my note for this one. I cut off half of the half of the quote, but basically, this mom was stating that in January her daughter transitioned from preschool, was making plans to transition her daughter from preschool to kindergarten, and they met with the preschool staff early on, with the kindergarten teachers, the special educators, and the principal. And they had a few meetings. So the child had some more significant issues. So they ended up having around 4 meetings, I believe, to really develop a transition plan for her daughter that really would meet the daughter's needs the first day of kindergarten. They shared information such as this. This is the parent page from the Moving On Up booklet. And it's a tool that helps parents think about what they need to do to help prepare their child to enter kindergarten. So as you can see, the first question would be, what does your child enjoy doing the most? Teachers really need to know what your child loves to do. That way they can fulfill the interest by providing opportunities for that child. The child, and the classroom say the child, of course all children in kindergarten love dinosaurs. So say Sally loves her dinosaurs, and you share that with the teacher. And then the teacher provides an opportunity to have the dinosaurs in the sand table or over in the block area in order to really help to engage the child and also share the dinosaurs with their peers. Again, encouraging and motivating engagement and purposeful, intentional play with the children. That child will want to be coming back to school the following day looking for those dinosaurs that the kindergarten teacher had purposefully placed out and about within the classroom to just pique the interest, because we knew that it was a high interest of a child. You can also share with the teacher your child's strengths and learning needs. How does your child learn? You know your child best. Are they visual learners? Do they like and really are attracted to pictures? Do they just talk 100 miles an hour? Are they verbal like that? What are their learning needs? And what are those strengths? We have to identify those to help the teacher, again, really address what those needs are in appropriate ways and fun ways for kindergarten. Of course, we share health and medical records. When a child, say a child might have a speech and language delay, we really look at their hearing first to see if the child has had numerous earaches or blockages or whatever, and sometimes that is the case. And knowing that, we can address the child's hearing and as well as their speech needs at the time too. So sharing their health and medical needs is important. You also share with the team your hopes and dreams. So what are they? What is your biggest fear of your child going to kindergarten? Is it getting on the bus and hoping your child is able to sit in the seat? Is it hoping that your child, joins in with his friends and comes home and says, oh, wow, I met Patty today? And then you can ask your son or daughter about Patty. So what is your hope and dream for your child, not only on the first day, but through the whole course of his kindergarten year? Continue to talk to the teacher about what's happening and any of your concerns and any of your celebrations as well. This is a parent page of the Moving On booklet. Moving On Up booklet, and you can, as you can see, really put photographs or draw pictures or whatever you'd like to do to share with your transition team members. So you can put pictures of what your child did over the summer, and that's a conversation point for the teacher to ask them about, maybe during the first or second day of school. You can add pictures of your extended family members, grandmothers, grandfathers, aunts, uncles, child care providers, anyone who's special to the child. So that teacher is well aware of who the child is and who is important to that child. Again, a springboard for having conversations with the child on a day-to-day basis. So here's a quote from a teacher from a school perspective. And I'm just going to read it. So, prior to contact with the family and school staff is very important, as is the need for communication between EEE and the school. Think about having the EEE students come to school in the spring for a picnic. Wow. Some schools do that. Some schools have a spring step-up day for preschool students, EEE students, and kindergarten students, and they have actually a fun time. The children get to come and visit the classroom. They get to meet children who will be in that classroom with them, and they will get to meet and greet the teacher. So if you see that your school is offering a springtime step-up day for the children, try really hard to take part in that. It is important. If you can't do it, over the summertime you can always visit the school and visit the playground. That's another important point for children to really be able to practice on the equipment and feel secure enough in order when they go out there and on the first day or second day of school of kindergarten that they already know how high those swings fly. They know that their bum sticks to the slide as they move down because it's a plastic slide. They know that there's sand for digging and some great equipment in order to dig those great big holes that they were able to do and fill them up with rocks and different things like that. So it's important for the child to really visit the school, become familiar with the surroundings and the environment, and feel comfortable walking into the school that first day. So a principal quote we have here is, what we have to understand about schooling is the central importance of relationships. The best transition activities are those that foster strong relationships among parents, teachers, and children. This is so true. Again, if we don't have if the child doesn't have the confidence and competence in their social skills and abilities, that it's going to be more difficult for them to form those long-standing relationships. We want that to happen in order for the child to feel trust and secure with the teachers and the teachers with the parents, and so on and so forth. So we have to provide opportunities that we can build strong relationships for everyone involved in the transition process for the children. Here's a special educator quote. The sooner we get to know the family and the child, the better. I can't stress that enough. So it's important, again, if you have your child is in a preschool program, they're receiving EEE services within that program, ask about who may be the special educator in the elementary school. You know, would you be able to stop in and see them, get to know them a little bit? You know, it works both ways. Parents can certainly ask questions of the staff and ask to meet staff in the elementary schools, as well as the staff asking to meet the children and families a little bit earlier. So you have sending teams and receiving teams. And the sending teams are those folks such as the EEE teachers, preschool teachers, related service personnel, child care providers that are part of that sending team. And those receiving teams are the individuals, the staff in the school that will be working with your child next year in kindergarten. So ask. If you haven't had a transition conference at this point in time, and it's May, what's the day? I don't know what today is, May 18th. It's time to call the school and ask when that might be. So, and I'll talk about the regulation in a little while here. We have a quote from a child that is funny, and I've heard this over the course of my work in schools working with preschoolers, having children say, if the Triple E teacher or preschool teacher is not coming to kindergarten with me, then I'm not going. Well, in actuality, that feels so good to the preschool teachers and Triple E teachers, but they know that they can't hang on to those kids because they need to move on to kindergarten, of course. But you develop, again, the relationship, and this is why this child is saying this, because they have established that connection with their teachers, and those teachers were fulfilling that child's educational needs the best that they could. And now to move on is so, so difficult. But if we help provide a transition plan that is smooth and effective for children, then that first day of school, they're raring to go and meeting and greeting the new individuals in their life. And that preschool teacher might step in the room and say, "Hey Joey, how you doing?" And they'll both give each other a great big hug, but you know that child's going to move on because there's new and exciting things in his life too. So hang on, we have to pause a second. Okay. All right. We were just looking at the chat box. We had it hidden, actually. So I apologize for that. So the first question was, my voice was cutting in and out. But I think that's fine now. Is that true? Okay. Thank you. Yes, okay. There is a question by Ellen, and she said, to what extent do Vermont kindergartens reach out to parents whose kids are not in Triple E or not receiving early child special education services? Well, Ellen, I think that school districts do a pretty good job about putting in, like the paper, the advertisements for kindergarten screening, and come in to get to know the staff in the spring. Now, some move forward in reaching out to their partner child care programs, and they know the children who are receiving community-based pre-K services because they've developed that partnership with them. And so they will reach out to the families and children within those programs as well. We always can do a better job, though. So I see you just popped that. Would you say that most kids with special needs are in Triple E or some child care program? I would say that we have around 1,600 children, 3, 4, and 5 years of age, who are identified as having special needs and are eligible for special education services, hence they are in Triple E. There are some children that are missed. I think it's it's a smaller percentage, but there are some children, some families do not agree for Triple E services. Some families may be in a situation that they're more isolated and don't have, they don't have the options to move out more into the community to access services. But I think for the most part, children are identified. At least we're trying to make sure they're identified. I can say that because in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, we track the number of children who may be in need of a special ed evaluation. And if there's a high number in, say, a school, they're doing a lot of evaluations in first grade or kindergarten, then we know that we may not be identifying the children early enough. So we'll look at their child find process, and child find is part of the Individuals with Disabilities Act law that states that school districts are responsible for identifying, locating, and evaluating children who may be in need of special education services. I see your next question, Ellen. I am thinking of the rural kids who may not have easy access to programs. Yes, there are. We're working to try to support the best that we can, that everyone has equal access to services across the state. You're welcome. Okay. Okay, so there's some things to keep in mind. And, oops, let me go back. So some of those things are when your child is in a full-day child care program and receiving services in the child care program, receiving special education, EEE services, when the child moves to kindergarten, you might be moving the child into a half-day program. So some kindergartens are half-day, some are full-day, some are 0.7, which might mean that the district provides kindergarten on Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, but not on Friday. So there's a host of different configurations of how kindergarten is offered across the state. Another, I don't want to call it an issue, but it may be, is that we don't have a statewide kindergarten entrance date. Some schools' cutoff date is September 1. Some schools' district's date is August 31st. Some look at December 31st and varying days. So cutoff dates for entrance to kindergarten varies across the state as well. So there's some of those things we definitely need to keep in mind. So if you're not quite sure what your elementary school program looks like, give a call and ask them what they offer for kindergarten, half day, full day, or some other type of configuration of services. I can't right now say what the percentage is between full-time and half-time, though. I think there's quite a number of school districts that do provide full-day kindergarten programs, but you'll have to check your local district. So this section is really looking at what the regulations are related to transitioning students who have been receiving essential early education services into kindergarten. And so these are quotes from some parents. So what are schools required to do in order to ensure a smooth transition for my child to move into kindergarten? Well, IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Act, 2004, as well as our Vermont State Board of Education Special Education rules from June 2010, state that the IEP team must meet at least 3 to 6 times 6 months prior to a child's entrance to kindergarten. So that means that if your child is receiving EEE services, that if you haven't already had a transition meeting, that one should be planned ASAP. You can always have it earlier, but it has to be at least 3 months prior to that child's entering kindergarten. Another question from a parent was, will I be invited to the transition meeting? Yes. Team members should include the parents, the EEE teacher, the sending pre-K or child care provider, the receiving kindergarten teacher, the receiving special educator, and an local education agency, which we fondly refer to as the LEA representative, who may be the principal, the special education director, or a designated representative to be the LEA. I have to say, for the receiving kindergarten teacher, that sometimes schools do not do kindergarten placement for children until June, and some do it over the summer. So it may be that a school has 2 or 3 kindergarten teachers, and you're not quite sure where your child's classroom or who will be the teacher for your child. So for this meeting, there needs to be at least one kindergarten teacher, no matter who it is, at this meeting to receive the information about your child. So what will happen during the meeting? The team's going to develop a transition plan, and the moving on up booklet helps again with questions, and I have some pictures of the page in the booklet that will help you develop a plan. The team will also discuss your child's progress, where they are developmentally in all areas of development, such as their social emotional, the coping skills, their communication, expressive, receptive language skills, their fine and gross motor skills. I think I covered all the motor skills. I think I covered all the areas. The child's going to discuss what necessary services and supports your child might need in order to access the education in kindergarten, access the curriculum there. And the team will also ensure that the IEP will be ready to be implemented at the beginning of the new school year. So they might be completing goals and objectives for the end of their preschool time, their EEE services. They may have extended school year services if they're warranted, and that means that a child might have summer type of services, which we do call extended school year services, and then the dates will then look at the kindergarten and then list what services will be provided in kindergarten. Now, I have to say, at any time, the IEP with parent approval can be amended. Okay. Some things that when we write the IEP for the child, or we amending it to include the kindergarten piece, is that we're looking at the appropriate least restrictive environment placement. Most children who are receiving special education services are placed within the general ed classroom, and the general education classroom means the kindergarten classroom. Some children need other type of placements, such as placements in a separate class, maybe for an hour prior to kindergarten, or have pull out services with a speech and language pathologist as opposed to having services provided in the classroom. So your child's LRE placement depends on what meets his needs and what services will be provided for him to address those needs and where that will take place. The IEP is going to update the goals and objectives as needed for your child. We'll look at how that specialized instruction will be delivered, how many times a week or during the day, for how long, and by whom. Transportation may be on your child's IEP. If your child is coming in on the bus to school, that will not be on your child's IEP because he's riding alongside his peers, and it doesn't need to be a related service at that point. If there's no transportation to the school, a child's IEP team may need to consider if transportation needs to be placed on the IEP as a related service in order for that child to access his special education services in another environment, or bringing that child to school in order to access that. You'll speak about the next necessary accommodations or adaptive equipment that may be necessary in the classroom for children with mobility concerns, or we need to provide visual supports for children, seating concerns, or any curriculum modifications that will be needed as well. And we'll also talk about what the staff needs in order to fulfill the child's educational needs. So staff may need to be trained in some specific intervention strategies, such as strategies that support children on the autism spectrum. They might need to learn how to use American Sign Language, as well as the parents might need that as well. So whatever trainings are necessary, the IEP team will make sure that those will be received by staff and family. This is just an example of a timeline for kindergarten transition. As you see on the far left, preschool starts in September, and then it moves through on until September of the kindergarten year. So early in September, we're not thinking about kindergarten, of course, but for children with significant needs, we might need to be. So as you move forward through the course of the school year, you and the team will determine when it would be best to start discussing the transition process to kindergarten. And in order for you to, remember, have that meeting at least 3 months prior to that child's entering kindergarten. Okay, let me see if there's another question. So from Christine, can parents disagree with the services and or supports listed on the IEP? Yes, parents, of course, can disagree. There is procedural safeguards in place and there's a parental rights that the parents will also receive during the meeting time if they haven't done so already. So there is that process. So making sure, if you don't have a copy of your parental rights, it would be good to ask for a copy. So let me see if there's any other questions. Okay. Okay, so we're almost going to be wrapping up here. So if you have any more questions on your mind, if you can write them in the chat box, that would be great. Getting ready for kindergarten, we really stress the connection between families and schools. And that's, again, on both parties' part. Everyone has to extend a hand on both sides. Child and school connections, we want to make sure that we're connecting with the kindergarten teacher, seeing how things are going on a weekly basis, maybe daily basis if you drop off and pick up your child as well. There's a couple different ways to keep connected with a teacher. A lot of teachers utilize a journal that may go back and forth between school and home, and that way the parent can jot down that Johnny's Aunt Bessie came the night before and she just got back from India and was sharing some of her trinkets that she brought back with her with the family. So some things exciting that happen, in the family as well. So make sure that things can be shared again. So connecting with peers outside of school is also important. Not only families connect with other families outside of school, but for the children to play with each other at the park or on a t-ball team, or meeting at McDonald's and going in the jungle gym is always exciting. And keeping those connections, again, helps build relationships and connection to the community as we move forward in our school years. Okay, move forward. So what are more possibilities that are happening out there to help with a smooth, effective transition for children? Kindergartens have open houses for families. We talked about the spring kind of step-up day, which might be barbecue. Open houses for kindergarten typically happen in the fall, where the whole school hosts an open house. Families come in and are able to meet and greet with the teachers and other families, look at children's artwork and really feel that you're a part of the school community. Visits to the kindergarten class are important. So if your IEP team, the transition team, doesn't talk about that, say, you can ask that question. Is my child going to be able to visit the kindergarten classroom? Kinder Camp during the summer, there's a lot of summer programs out there. We just need to know where to look and where to find them. There's nature camps and a lot of fun things for children to do. Your local Park and Recs department are a good source as where to find the camps, as well as Vermont Family Network. Special days for kindergarten registration, they are most typically announced in the newspaper, so keep your eyes out for that. Ask your EEE teacher, your classroom teacher, when kindergarten registration is. Kindergarten registration typically has the family come in to sign up their child. You bring your child's records, and your child may be screened at that point, or that may be at another point in time. But it's always an exciting time for families when kindergarten registration comes around, because we know this is the start. We're moving forward with sending, my young child to kindergarten. So on the VFN website, where this presentation will be posted, there will be also a number of accompanying parent resources on transition. And these resources are from the National PTA Association. And they, I thought they were just, they're just nice documents. They explain things well. They're easy to read. You can post them on your fridge if you want, but it gives you a lot of ideas in order just to support your child's transition into kindergarten. Another site is the National Early Childhood Transition Initiative Center, and the website is on your screen. And I would say there's a host of information about kindergarten transition on the internet. And if you just Google kindergarten transition, you're going to come up with 1,000 sites. For children with special needs, Special Quest has a very, very nice transition modules that they share with families. So, but like I said, if you Google kindergarten transition, you're going to come up with quite a number of information and documents and resources that are available out there. I think I have one more question. Hang on. Oh, Ellen, you said, are parents welcome in the kindergarten classroom? Hold on a second. For, in my eyes, yes. They should be very welcome in the kindergarten classroom. If a school is open and welcoming, that's what you want to see. That's what we want to feel. You want to feel that you are welcome to come in and say, how's my child doing today? So you probably have to stop in the office and sign in. But I'm hoping that all schools are welcoming of families coming into the classroom. All right. I'm just reading your question. So, Ellen, you said not just as volunteers, but to occasionally observe and share materials that they can use at home. Yes, I would talk to your child's kindergarten teacher and really share what you have to offer for the classroom. Okay. For children with very intense special needs, will the team ever work with a class through an in-service or group training or teaching activity to help peers better understand their classmates? I've seen this happen, yes. Again, families can share. If they wish that the team work with the family in order to share information about a child with their peers. I've seen families develop wonderful books at home. I'm just drawings and pictures and stating, this is Tyler, this is me, and they share it with the class. All the children in the class, tend to really enjoy that activity, and they tend to end up making books themselves about themselves. So I would say that is a very good idea if the family is willing to share. So, okay. Now, I hope this covered the areas that you wanted to learn about today for children with special needs moving into kindergarten, looking at the regulations and some of those guidance that we have, best practice guidances. So if it's not, feel free to let me know, and I can tweak the presentation at any point to add or delete anything. And you can give me a call, or you can email me. My phone number and email address is up on the screen right now. And again, there'll be other resources attached with this presentation on the VFN website. So, and I'll continue to post more. So, right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody taking the time out of their lunch break to attend the webinar. Thanks.
All right. Again, thanks everybody. This concludes our lunchtime webinar series. A big thank you to Kate for taking time out of her day and coming, and I hope you will join us for our webinar next month. Stay tuned for more details, which will definitely be on our website. So thanks again.